Radio Network. Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free. And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
All right. Welcome back. This is Fade to Black. It is Thursday, January 23rd, 2014. That's right, 23 days into the new year. We are live from the JP Motorsports Studios right here in Burbank, California. For KJCR and the Dark Matter Radio Network, I am your host, Jimmy Church. And you know how I start off every show. Started off with a salute to the proud men and women in uniform all around the world fighting the good fight for us. Without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us, and you can't hear me right now. All right. What a great show we've got lined up for tonight. They're all great, but this one's going to be amazing. Happy birthday to Robin Zander. That's right. Robin Zander of Cheap Trick is 61 years old today. And Sonny Chiba, one of my heroes, the new Bruce Lee, 75 years old. And today, Django Reinhardt, probably the first shredder, the first guitar shredder, did it all with like one finger, would have been 103 years old today. He's our dead guy birthday of the day. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, J Church Radio, Dark Matter. Go find us, like us, follow us, and subscribe. Tonight, we will have open lines in the third hour. I will be taking your calls. Get in line. You know the call-in number. It is 323-825-5045. As always, you can email me throughout the show. The producers here at the studio always get me the best email, and I will read them as they come in. You can email me to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can do it on the website. You can do it however you want to do it. But always remember, we use non-NSA, specially encrypted servers here at the network. You can do it in confidence. The bumper music tonight is Doug Aldridge of Whitesnake. Without Doug, we got no show. Thank you, Doug, for the bumper music. It is the best on radio. We have posted up on the website, on the contacts page, the Giza Viewer, and also over at jimmychurchradio.com. The forums are blowing up. Thank you. I will always jump in after the show tonight and go hang out in the forums and see what is new. So, and also, if you've got any pictures you want to post, you can do that there at the UFO landing pad. Just click on the microphone. And over at jimmychurchradio.com, please, everybody head over to the website and check out Stan's blog. He's written a really cool blog this week on Karahunj, which is the Armenian Stonehenge. And you've probably never heard of it. And it is a very important megalithic structure, probably the oldest in the world, besides Göbekli Tepe. And it's right there in Armenia. It is incredible. There are photographs. You've got to go and read this blog and go do your studying. Go to school and learn about Karahunj. Karahunj, by the way, in Armenian means Stonehenge. Think about that for a second. Over at artbell.com, I've seen it now like 3 times. You've got to go and check out the Invisible UFO video. I know it doesn't make sense. Go and watch the Invisible UFO video. It is stunning. I don't know what it is. You've got to go and check that out. And like I said, I did it like 3 times today. So, okay, we've got a great show lined up. And Antonio Paris is going to be with us. We're going to take a quick break like we always do. Got to pay the bills. And he's going to be with us when we come back. So please stay with us. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Don't touch that mouse. And when we come back, we will be with Antonio Paris. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Email me at jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Go and follow us on Twitter at jchurchradio. You are listening to Fade to Black right here from Burbank, California. We are live. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Jimmy Church Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444, or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Kicking it off, we got a good one tonight. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Do follow us on Twitter at jchurchradio. Facebook fan page. Let's see if we can get to 6,000 tonight. Get over to Facebook and like us. We kind of update everything at the same time, but if I do anything first here at the studio, it's probably Facebook. So head over there. Okay, all right. We've got a great show lined up tonight, and I'm going to jump straight into it. We'll do the first hour without commercials, all right? And I will be taking your calls in the third hour. You know the number, 323-825-5045. Get in line. And we'll try to get everything in tonight. I just want to jump straight in. All right, so let's get this done. Antonio Paris is the founder and director of the Aerial Phenomena Investigations, also known as API. He's a former U.S. Army counterintelligence officer and Department of Defense counterintelligence special agent. He was awarded a Bronze Star for combat operations in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. API is a team of trained UFO investigators dedicated to conducting investigations, research, and analysis regarding unidentified flying objects and other aerial phenomena. Their mission is to conduct a systematic search for facts to determine whether or not a UFO sighting can be first attributed to being a man-made object, natural phenomena, or perhaps extraterrestrial in nature. He has published Aerial Phenomena, Reviving Ufology for the 21st Century, and is currently working on his second book. And on May 16th of this year, we'll be holding the Apicon event in Tampa, Florida with Bill Murphy from Fact or Fate. He's got Anthony Sanchez, Chris Fleming, Marsha Barnhart, John Alexander, Bill Burns, Nick Redfern, and Travis Walton. That is an event, by the way. And I just got to say, Antonio is a man's man, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Antonio, are you with us? Live from Florida, by the way.
I'm right here. Thanks for having me on board.
I really tried to get you on the show for the last couple of weeks, and just thank you for taking the time. You are one of the busiest guys out there. You've got a lot going on, and quite frankly, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you pull it off.
It's quite busy, but I think after the May conference, I'm going to take a well-deserved break for a month or two and just relax.
Well, I'm going to start off the conversation tonight like I do with every guest, and that is just to say that this is just a conversation between friends. We're just sitting in my living room, kicking back, unscripted, and we'll let the conversation go where it goes. But let's get comfortable, and it's going to be a great time. And again, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. Are you ready?
Awesome. Sure, no problem.
Well, the first thing that I just said you were a man's man, and you look at your bio and you look at some of the pics of you on the web, and it's so impressive. And as from one man to another, I've got to just talk about the special agent thing because I don't have that on my resume, and I couldn't imagine that. But take us through that a little bit, and what does that really mean?
Well, let's go back a couple of years when I was a counterintelligence officer, and pretty much what I did as a counterintelligence officer was, protecting our secrets, and two, investigating allegations of espionage. And when I was transitioning out of the military, at the time, there was an organization called the CFA, the Counterintelligence Field Activity, and they hired me as a special agent to pretty much do the same thing as I did as a military officer. And that was to investigate allegations of espionage and also of terrorism. So I did that for quite some time. And basically, anybody can just Google what all counterintelligence involved. I won't go too much into that.
Sure.
But I was actually assigned my entire time to the cold case squad. And, the cold case squad, believe it or not, really there was about, I don't know the exact number now, but it was in the hundreds of cold espionage cases that we just didn't know who the culprits were. We're talking about Cold War and even older. So, it was a really interesting job to look at what was going on in the 70s and 80s and up to the 90s regarding espionage and terrorism, but we weren't able to apprehend the individuals. And a lot of travel, a lot of investigative work, a lot of collection evidence, lots of interviews, really interesting job. And sometime around 2007, 2008, I learned really quickly that in the private sector, the paychecks were a little better than in the government sector. So, I put up the hat and went off to the now infamous Booz Allen Hamilton. And I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, doing the same thing, counterintelligence for various classified government entities. And about a month ago, doing this for about 20-something years now, it was time to, hang it up. I didn't want to do this my entire life. I didn't want this to be, I just wanted this to be a chapter in my life.
Sure.
And so now, I retired, no longer doing that. My clearances are no longer valid. I'm retired, and now I'm just in Florida writing books and, organizing conferences and also, directing aerial phenomena.
Well, before we move on to where the conversation is going to go, this is where I have to ask a couple of questions just from me to you. I've got to know, is it that life for 20 years, is it as romantic as portrayed? I mean, were you are you doing the whole James Bond thing, or is it
not? Yeah, it's not. And a lot of people tell you that pretty much do the same thing or did the same thing that I do. Most of it is boring. It's tedious. surveillance work sucks. Sitting in a car for 8 hours, sometimes up for days on end. It's not sexy like the James Bond. I'm not running around in my $5,000 Armani suits, chasing culprits up the first class railway, stuff like that. No, it's not like that. A lot of it is a lot of man hours of analyzing documents, countless interviews. It's probably only 1% sexy, and then in the other 99%, it's paperwork.
Okay, then one last question, then we'll get to the good stuff. This is just for me. How did you get your Bronze Star?
That was in Iraq. I was a intelligence officer assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division, and I actually got it for the Battle of Fallujah in 2003, and it was awarded to me for valor after the fact. It wasn't until we arrived back in Kuwait, actually Fort Benning, that I was notified that I'll be receiving the Bronze Star for valor.
Can you get specific about how it was earned?
It was, combat. It was combat related,
right?
And it was just, at one point in time in Fallujah, there was a battle, and I was able to set up a defensive zone, and kind of allow what they call a route access to allow a infantry convoy to go through. And we were under fire, both artillery and small arms fire. And myself and my S2 team, the intelligence team, were able to provide a defensive posture for that infantry unit to pass through safely, and that's why we were awarded the Bronze Star.
Well, you make us proud, and I think you just heard at the beginning of the show, how I start off every show, and my father did 33 years in the armed services as well, except he was in the Army band.
Well, the Army band is a lot of people don't know that the Army band is the general's security. Did you know that?
Not my dad's Army band. No. I don't want to be facetious at all in that. My dad was very proud and obviously did it, he was a careerman, and I lived I did the normal 3 years, pulled up stakes and went to another another base, sometimes just another country. And lived that life as an Army brat, and so I'm very proud of our armed services. And but no, I did not know that they provided the general security. Maybe overseas, maybe. I
think I don't know if it's relatively new, but I do know that at least when I was in 2003, they were still doing it. That the Army band is usually the security for the general's command center during times of war. So,
okay, that could be. I just don't remember us being in a war situation, where we were deployed to. So
sure.
But anyway, so I'm very proud. Thank you for your service to this country. Now, what happened? It's a transition. Going from that to this organization, API, they don't look related, but yet they look completely related to me. So what happened in your life? Something happened either before?
Nothing. I was always interested in, growing up with science fiction and I was just interested in extraterrestrials and UFOs my entire life.
Right.
But it was in grad school, as I was finishing up grad school in 2000, end of 2011, something like that. In planetary science, I was doing a paper on a manned mission to Mars. It was actually part of my thesis.
Okay.
So I was studying, the possible propulsion systems and life support systems and all that stuff. I said, wait a minute, all the crap that I have to put in, envision for a successful mission to Mars, if extraterrestrials exist and if they're actually traveling here in some type of spacecraft, how did they do it? And that's how I became involved. So I said, wait a minute, I've got some background as an investigator in evidence collection, in doing interviews, all that cool stuff I learned as a special agent. And now I have the education in space science. You know, I've astrobiology, planetary science, the math.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I put these two things together and kind of like, you know, investigate the phenomena? Not necessarily, you know, the entire phenomena, because I call it a wilderness of mirrors. Just the nuts and bolts of UFO phenomena. Just the reports of you know, the UFO itself. I don't care about the alien agenda if there's one. I'm not a big fan of alien abductions. I'm not into the conspiracies. I am not into the, you know, the what I call the new age pseudoscience, astral projection, human alien hybrids, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all cool, you know, and I have a lot of friends that are into that stuff. I just want to focus on the actual physical nuts and bolts, metal or whatever they're using, if they're actually using anything, part of UFO investigations.
How did you get the organization started? Because you've got a team of people behind you. You've got, you know, how did you, because the only reason, before you answer, it's just the organization that you've got put together, and you're coming off of a completely unrelated career and school and everything else. How did you get this team together? And the thing is this, there are organizations out there, and you're aware of all of them, that have been at this for a long time. And it just seems you've got this extremely sophisticated machine going now, and it's doing really well. How did you get that together? It took a lot of work. I initially did what every good UFO investigator does. I joined MUFON, which is a fairly decent organization, you know. Did the training, became a star team member, all that, you know, brouhaha stuff. Mm-hmm.
But I went around to the local Washington D.C. MUFON meetups and their quarterly meetings, and I was disappointed. You know, I sat down. I went to every meeting in Virginia, in Virginia. You know, the D.C., Virginia, Maryland, and even Pennsylvania.
Right.
And the theme I got from all these meetings that I went to for about a year was they barely talked about UFOs. It was always about CIA conspiracies, human alien hybrids, you know, even Bigfoot. All the things that really are inundating this the what UFOs used to be a really good topic. I left with a sense of, wait a minute. They're not really studying or investigating UFOs from a scientific perspective. They're just sitting around eating popcorn and talking conspiracies, etc. They're not even training. So at the last meeting that I actually attended, I said, I said to everybody, listen, I'm interested in setting up a team that's slightly different. I'm not here to compete with MUFON or anybody or taking away bodies. But I want to study this from a investigative, scientific approach. And then I got everybody's email, and then I put out an email saying, I'm going to have my first meeting, which was in December of 2011. And about 40 or 50 people showed up, and I gave my spill. It was like a 20-minute PowerPoint standard military presentation of what my mission statement was going to be and my goals for the organization. And I would say maybe about 8 or 9 at that time decided to come on board. And of those 8 of 9, most of them are still here, about 6 or 7 of them. A couple of them had to leave because, they move on and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And one actually got sick. So we kind of put the wedge, we're all kind of still MUFON members, just not investigators.
Right.
We got the journal, all that cool stuff. But I wanted an organization to kind of sit back, look at the phenomena from nuts and bolts perspective. We don't care. We're not here, I tell everybody, we're not here to listen to all the sensational stories and give hugs and say we believe you. We're looking for physical proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think keeping the course and ensuring that our compass heading didn't deviate from that mission statement in the last 3 years is what made Aerial Phenomena today probably one of the only serious organizations out there that are looking at this from a truly scientific perspective.
Well, and I'm not going to in any way, I'm going to use some slang here, bag on MUFON, because they, there are some people there that work really hard and do what they do. But
I've got a lot of good friends in
MUFON. And me too.
Hanging out with them last week.
Exactly. Me too. But did you ever try to push investigating, maybe that there were some cases that were coming through MUFON there locally that were maybe ignored, or that they just... I
did. I didn't get the sense of... I didn't get the feeling that was a major interest to them. My personal opinion is that MUFON is trying to become this huge enterprise, as big as possible, and membership is their, I guess, the priority in the investigations is second. I just didn't feel like I was actually part of the organization. I didn't feel I was contributing to the investigating phenomena up in Maryland, D.C. I was just getting, your typical light in the sky or satellite or, things like that on a monthly basis. I wasn't getting anything of interest for about 2-3 years when I was investigating MUFON. And one of the reasons also for Aerial Phenomena was like, I felt constrained with MUFON. You can't investigate outside of your the state you live on. You could, on occasion, if you coordinate, but I said to myself, wait a minute, the phenomena is bigger than just the state of Maryland.
Right.
There's stuff going all around internationally and in the U.S. So I was like, okay, I need my organization if I want to go investigate in Texas or California or New Mexico or whatever. And it just grew. It's just like any organization. It's still maturing. It's still, it's not. We don't have all the answers. Nobody else has all the answers. But I think this is where we want to be right now. We don't want to be huge. We don't want thousands of investigators. We don't want to be, the analogy I use is MUFON is this great, huge organization like McDonald's. They're everywhere, but their burgers kind of stink. I want to be that mom and pop shop that sells the good burgers.
Right.
That one shop that the line is around the corner, and we've got the best burgers in town. That's what Aerial Phenomena wants to be.
You ever eat at In-N-Out?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, In-N-Out is where it's at as far as. So you want to be the In-N-Out of. Okay, so the photographs, and we're going to have the producers here post some stuff up from your website. We'll grab some stuff of some of your investigations, and so you are able to. A report comes in, and I've gone through. By the way, I've checked out all of your, the investigations. It's just really well done, and it's a well produced website, and it's a machine that seems to be working correctly. I would like to talk to your web guy. So.
It's me.
Well done. So anyway, so you are able to. Your thing is, no pun intended, with your background, but boots on the ground. You want to get out there. You want to check it out. You're looking for physical trace evidence, and
which is key. One of the things we do is we triage cases, and that is the key to getting those boots on the ground.
When you say triage, what do you mean by triage?
Well, we just can't. We can't investigate a light in the sky that someone saw 50 years ago.
Right.
That's wasting our time. So if you look on our website where it says report a UFO, we'll give priority to cases that, for example, if the sighting occurred within 30 days, if there's multiple witnesses, if it's a daytime sighting as opposed to a nighttime sighting, you got to have some type of, at least what we call initial evidence, which is photo, video, or something that we can actually, analyze. And here's the key that really makes us separate. We don't want to investigate any reports of UFOs if they are, and I don't know what the mileage is, but if they are too close to a military base, a defense contractor, or etc. Most of the time, most of the time, we've been doing this for about 3 years now, and we pretty much concluded that most of the reports that we get from those areas are usually drones or some type of classified work. And we feel comfortable that most of the reports that we get in the areas of military bases is usually R&D work. I'll just tell you, in Maryland alone, when I was up there, we did a research. There were at least 1,500, this is unclassified too, 1,500 defense contractors working on drone technology alone. 1,500.
1,500 companies or 1,500 individuals?
Defense companies.
Wow.
All these little subsidiaries all around through Maryland, Northern Virginia. And we did an analysis of where all the sightings were, usually in the Patuxent area, where they're flying the X-47B and things like that, often had. And and based on sketches and things like that, and we just determined, okay, this is just, R&D stuff, and now, if you put all the things together, a recent sighting, multiple witnesses, it happened in the daytime of a physical object, not two lights in the sky at night. You have a photo, and it's nowhere near a military defense base or landing zone or something. We put all those 5 criteria together. That makes it for a very high strangeness case, and those are the cases that we're looking for. We're not looking for. And we get these a lot. I saw a strange object in 1942 or something like that.
Right.
There's not much we can do with that.
Right.
And you'll see that if you go onto my website under the case files, I'd say about 60 to 70%, and this was at MUFON too, 60 to 70% of the cases you get don't meet any of those criteria. It's something that happened 10 years ago, or no, I don't have a photo. It happened at night. I was the only witness. Those are okay for what I call information only investigations. But there's really not much that you can do with that. And a lot of organizations out there agree as well that there's not much you can do. You maybe a quick interview. If the person can provide a sketch, which I think it's like the worst thing you can do. Sketch me something you saw 20 years ago. So a quick interview and that's it, and you close the case. But there's not much you can do.
So take me to a typical and one of your something that you really want to talk about case where you went out and did you collect any trace evidence? Just take us through a typical, when a report comes in and you've got to pack up, gather the crew, get on a plane, and go. Take us through that.
There aren't that many.
Of course,
and
of course.
As a STAR team investigator, there weren't that many either. So I would say maybe once or twice a year, we get the case where, okay, this is cool. And so let's go back to 2013 because we haven't really received any this year. We had 2 last year. One was our New Mexico case, and I think that got some good publicity. Mm-hmm. So the witness sent us first he contacted me, saying, "Hey, I've got evidence of an alleged crash that happened here in 47." And I was like, "Okay, first of all, it's too old. It really doesn't meet the criteria." And he said, "No, I'm going to mail you this stuff." And so he mailed me a bunch of medals that were allegedly from UFO.
Now, this wasn't. I don't want to interrupt, but obviously I am. But this was not Roswell. This was something else.
No, this was interestingly enough, it was the same week as Roswell.
Okay.
And the story is that 3 different UFOs were part of the Roswell incident. I believe one crashed at, up in Corona, one outside of Roswell, and then this one in the San Augustine area.
Right.
So we went out to, we did our research. We went out to investigate the San Augustine area because the foil we received was allegedly from a UFO. And, as a good investigator, we turned this investigation upside down. We investigated the alleged site. We investigated reports of aircraft crashes, metal analysis, analogy, all the good stuff, and a strange symbol that was on one of the pieces of metal of the beam. And we feel very confident, and so does, believe it or not, MUFON, that we just found the remains of a World War II aircraft that crashed in the desert. And we confirmed this with the U.S. Air Force. We confirmed this with aircraft archaeologists. We confirmed this with the manufacturer of the actual aircraft. We found the pilots aboard Cherry and stuff like that. So we put all these things together, and it was a cool case because we were able to put all the bits and pieces together, actually physically go out there, do the digging. We did all the soil samples, radiation analysis, everything that. And we finally concluded, okay, this is an aircraft. And that was pretty cool. We were able to close the books on a legend that's been kind of, I call it the hanging chat. It's just been hanging around for 50 years that a UFO crashed there when it was in fact an aircraft.
What kind of aircraft was it? Were you able to determine that?
It was an AT-6 trainer.
Okay.
And that was used, I forgot the name of the airbase out of New Mexico. It wasn't Roswell. And Lieutenant Edmundheimer, I forget his name, it's on the website. He ran out of fuel and ditched and crashed right outside of Horse Springs, New Mexico. And
well, that in of itself, it wasn't a UFO, but
it wasn't a UFO, but the legend that was passed down because it happened so close to the Roswell incident,
right?
And because there was military activity in the area, which was actually the aircraft retrieval team. It's called a convergence of events. The same week you have an aircraft crash, and then allegedly a UFO, not too far from there, and then you have military activity. And as the legend grows, it became that a UFO actually crashed there. When in fact it was just if Roswell actually happened, it did happen the same week, but at least in our part, it was an aircraft.
And you said there was a second investigation you did last year. What was that?
Yeah, the second one was a kid who claims that he. We rarely don't do alien abduction cases, but in this case, we did it because it was very close to my house in Baltimore, just minutes away, when I lived up there. And he claimed that he woke up in the middle of the night and there was an entity. He said it was like a troll, and it was putting an implant in him at the time when he woke up. And he thought it was a dream, so he kind of brushed it off. But when he woke up the next day, he found the implant still lodged in his arm, and he pulled it out. And he put it in his bag, in this little bag or something like that. And he alleges that the implant kind of fizzled away, melted away, etc. We were kind of interested in the case because it was recent, it was close by, and in reality, we also wanted to train our, doing interviews, kind of like a rehearsal. So I always tell my investigators, if you have a case out there that's kind of lukewarm or lame, go out there and still do the interview, as a kind of a practice to keep your skills up. So we all went out there, and the kid was, very shaken.
How old was he? How old?
He was early 20s.
Okay.
20s. We interviewed the dad too, who's a doctor, and it was at the time also in the house. What I found interesting was that when I took my Geiger counter to get a reading off the bag, I got a hit, not a big one, I got a small hit, and I thought that was interesting because Geiger counters, it could be some background radiation, but for it to go off as soon as I put it over a bag. I thought that was kind of a coincidence. But we interviewed the guy multiple times, interviewed the family, and we just found the kids, highly credible. We don't know what it was. It is obviously an unidentified case, but I thought that was a pretty cool case.
There was nothing left of the implant?
No, there was the bag that he gave us. We looked it under a micron, microscope, and Paul, who's our chief scientist, pretty much concluded that whatever was in the bag, it melted from inside out. It wasn't like he took a match or something like that and tried to hoax us. And then Paul, he must have spent weeks trying to replicate what could have done this, and he couldn't figure it out, but he kind of, deduced that whatever it was something small, and it was a quick burn. It wasn't a slow burn, based off his replication. And I just, in the end, it was a recent case, credible witness, no history of drugs, any of that stuff.
Was there anything that stood out that made his case different? The description of who put this in his arm?
Well, I'll tell you two things that I thought was interesting. So he described the entity not like your typical, gray alien, stuff like that. He said It looked like a troll. But he said one thing that most people never really mention is he said he can smell it. And what he described the smell was, he said something like dirty oil. And he says that'll never leave his mind for the rest of his life. That all he can remember right now was what the entity looked like. He said it was like a dark blue troll, and that it smelled like dirty oil. Kind of. I thought it was pretty weird. But here's the kicker. A few months later, I was at a conference in New Jersey, giving a presentation, and another alleged witness, another alleged abductee there, confided to me that he had the same experience, that he pulled what he thought was an alleged implant from his leg, put it in a Ziploc bag, and before his eyes, he saw it fizzle away. And I don't think he knew about my case that we previously did in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. But when I heard that case, I thought that was interesting. So that was like the second time I've heard, unless it's on the internet somewhere, I don't know, that an alleged implant was put in a Ziploc bag and kind of just fizzled away. Has
anything happened to this young man since? And are you in communication with him?
Yeah, we call him once in a while. He's claiming to be now what we call your contactee. Mm-hmm. He's seen strange objects now, which he didn't before. And he says, I think as recent as maybe less than a year ago, or maybe just about a year ago, he was out in Ocean City. I'd have to look at the case files. And saw some strange UFOs out in Ocean City, Maryland. He's seen objects that he didn't see before, and I thought that was pretty interesting. So, but we do, we still stay in touch, and hopefully one day, he'll call us and say he's got something else on.
How many reports and I've seen on the website you've got like 140 some odd investigations that have gone on. How many photographs are you receiving?
I'd say I would probably get one out of every 20 cases. And usually they're not really good photos. And out of, we've probably done about, 3 years, close to about, we've received about 600 investigations in the last 3 years, and we probably received about 40 or 50 photos, and about more than half of those were usually your typical lens flare or dirty camera or things like that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would say maybe less than a dozen where we just say, I don't know what that is. It's unidentified, But the photo is just 1% of the story. If somebody sends me a photo but doesn't want to be part of the investigation, we get those a lot. I took this. I don't want you to contact me, or I just thought I wanted to, I just wanted to get it off my chest because of that. An investigation usually requires two parties, the investigator and the investigatee. So we don't waste our time with anonymous photos, and things like that. So, but we really haven't gotten that, one photo where like, holy cow, this is an actual flying disc, and all photo analysis and forensics tells me it's legit. Normally the good photos were like, it's like a blurb or some strange light or something like that.
Well, I have the same thing that happens here at the station, which is, we'll get 3-4 emails a day that have pretty fantastic stories, and it's a great story and it's a great read, and I'll respond back, well, you should, reading email on the air, or a story, I should say, on the air isn't, you need to come on and let's talk about it. Well, I really don't, and it's just, it's frustrating for me because I know that it's not that they don't, they just don't want people to know, possibly that it's them. They just want to keep it in confidence, but they just want to get it off their chest, and that's and I'm sure that's the same experience. They'll shoot you the email, which in a weird way legitimizes their situation. They're not, it's not fame and fortune or something that they're reaching for. They just need to tell somebody about it, and then that's as far as they want to go.
I think as investigators or organizations, we need to emphasize to the community that not everything we receive is a legitimate UFO. I hate it when, last week I was at a MUFON meeting, and they said MUFON received 10,000 UFO reports last year, and everybody in the room was like, "Oh my God!" It made it sound like it's a freaking alien invasion going on. It's not. When you look at the data, out of those 10,000 reports, maybe 100 of those are actual legitimate UFOs. They're always, lens flares, lights in the sky, intentional hoaxes, or things like that. And I wish that, we do it all the time. We put out, at the end of the year, okay, this is what we did, and, in my book, I break down the numbers of what were actual UFO cases, but it makes it sound like, and the media loves to eat this up, is like there's an alien invasion going on. It's not. The numbers are you've got to be careful with those numbers.
Well, I had said, I've said it a few times on this show, but maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I was stirring the pot on a couple of forums about this exact issue. And what I was trying to point out to everybody, and again, everybody listening to this show, don't take offense, just listen to what I'm trying to say here, which is, if every single photograph going back to 1905 or whatever, if every single photograph was legit, then that means there is a freeway leading to planet Earth with bumper-to-bumper UFO traffic.
Exactly.
And that cannot be the case. That is not the case. Now, I want the one photograph, the one that you're talking about. Last night we had on Dr. Meldrum. He's a Bigfoot. You probably know.
I know who he is.
Yeah, great guy and very sincere, very educated. But the one thing that he has got in his corner that you and I don't have is that Patterson film. Okay, so
sure.
They have that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And it's the one thing. Now, there's some great photographs out there. There really is. There's a handful that you really scratch your head and go, whoa. But with all of the cameras and the digital technology that we have today, I'm waiting for that one photograph. Well, we all are. It's not me. I'm just saying
Sure.
that one thing where we go, okay, holy crap, there it is, or video.
Yeah, and then the problem is also that you there are a lot of people out there that proof is different for everybody else, and I totally respect and understand that. I know there are people out there that have witnessed things that they'll never be able to explain fully, or I'll never be able to tell them it's unidentified. There are people out there that I saw something and I know it was extraterrestrial. That's great, but there's nothing much I can do with that. I'm not trying to belittle them. I'm not trying to be a hardcore skeptic. My job is to ask the tough questions. I'm not there. I'm not showing up at meetings to give out hugs and put up bumper stickers that I believe. That's not my job, okay? That's other organizations do that. My job is to ask the tough questions of, it's what an investigator does, and that's what a scientist does. I'll listen to your story, but that's, if that's all you have, that's all you have. I can't say, okay, you saw an alien. That's not what we do, and I think for the most part, that's what not aerial phenomena does.
I was at a meeting for UPARS, which is the new, for the lack of a better term, the new MUFON out here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, is that with Steve Murillo?
Yeah, that's Steve Murillo, yeah. And I told him you were on the show tonight. He's probably listening right now, and so anyway, Steve, great guy, very knowledgeable. But I was at his UPARS meeting the other night, and it was packed, and we were having a great time, and it was awesome. But Steve and I broke away from the meeting for about 15 minutes, and we're talking. I said, this is the thing, Steve, is not always are you able to or think about breaking out a camera. And I had this experience, and this is exactly what you're talking about, too. And it's funny because I just had this conversation with Steve, which is I was out at a car dealership standing in a parking lot about 6 months ago, purchasing a car. And I was with like 4 or 5 of the Honda blue shirt guys, right? Okay, so we're standing out there, and one of the salesmen comes walking out. And he's looking up at the sky, and he goes, check it out, man, satellite. Now, this is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not a cloud in the sky, Southern California, summer day, perfect summer day. And we all look up, and it was just way up there. I don't know what 100,000 feet is, or but that's probably what it was. If I could say a number, it was way up there. But it was this weird spinning. It was some type of machine. It wasn't like a Mylar balloon, or it was up too high. So if it was a balloon, it was a balloon that was half a mile across. It was that high up. It's just a little pin, but you could see that it was spinning, and then as it spun, it would reflect off the sun every couple of seconds. You could see this reflect, kind of like a disco ball, but maybe like a 10-sided disco ball, not 1,000 mirrors on it. But it was spinning, and then it moved from came from the north. It was moving south very slowly, but then it stopped and continued spinning, then stopped spinning, and then just went up and turned into a little black dot, and then disappeared. Now, this is my point is, there's 4, 5, 6 guys standing there that all saw this. All of us had cell phones. Nobody videotaped. We just stood there and talked about it. It took about 20 minutes, maybe a half hour for this event to happen. It moved very slowly. But here I am in my career doing and I didn't take out my cell phone either. I was too dumbfounded and trying to figure out what we saw. Now, this is my point. We all thought it was a satellite, like it was being positioned and then moved. I guess they can do that, but that's what it kind of reminded us of. A few months later, I'm back there, tire change, oil change, whatever. And they came up, oh, yeah, you were with us when we saw that UFO. Now, the conversation had changed from satellite, because that's what we talked about that day, to UFO 3 months later. Now, I don't know what I saw, but what I didn't do was photograph it. All I have now is a story. You know what I mean?
And those are great to hear, but it's, at the end of the day, those are great to hear, but at the end of the day, there's not much you can do with that,
Nothing at all.
Except for, tell it around a campfire, I guess. But,
which is what Steve and I did, exactly.
I love those. I get those all the time, and I write them down and I save them. I don't discard them, because who knows? Maybe in the next 10 years there'll be 20 reports just like yours, and then maybe you can do some type of analysis. But we're looking for and proof is different to everybody, but I'm looking for the physical. Okay. I'm not looking, and I don't mean your alleged top secret document that mysteriously, was leaked or stuff like that, because those could be forged. But physical proof is our goal, is what Aerial Phenomena's goal is. And that's why we concentrate on those specific cases, like I mentioned earlier, the triage cases.
Right.
When somebody says, "Well, what's this piece of metal I found?" Those are the things we want to do. And then on occasion, if it's a very recent case and it's credible witness and it's close by, we'll do the occasional alleged abduction cases.
Have you, in your little dark world of espionage, counterintelligence, was there ever any scuttlebutt about this subject that you heard over the years?
It's in-house that we always joked about it. People when people think of the type of work I did, they think it's just a bunch of hard stuck-up guys with black suits who are really boring guys. But no, a lot of them were young kids just like me, and we always joked about well, we're at the Pentagon. Where the hell are the aliens? They've got to be somewhere here. So we always joke around things like that. But we never really stumbled across any of that stuff. On occasion, I would see. I'm trying not to say anything I'm not supposed to say, but
sure.
I'm
trying to get you to say something you're not supposed to say.
Well, no, because then you and I both go to jail. Think about the Iranian case that was reported about a week ago, where the Iranians reported chasing a UFO. We would see those types of reports, but that's all that the report would say is such and such country reported a UFO. That's it. And it never really broke down what it was or the speed or things like that. They were just quick reports, usually from like a defense attaché or an embassy.
Well, who would investigate if something like that comes across?
Nobody.
As far as we go, nobody's investigating. There's no team of investigators jumping on a G5, and heading out.
No. If it was like a threat to national security, let's say an unidentified aircraft violated Washington D airspace or something like that, obviously the FAA and local officials will get involved with that. That's obviously a no given. I don't know about any type of I know they did in the 50s and 60s because of the Cold War and stuff like that. But to date, I don't know of any organization in the government that actually investigates. I don't like the word use UFOs. When we think of UFOs, we it's synonymous with extraterrestrials. I think if a unidentified aircraft or spacecraft or whatever you want to call it violated, some national security airspace or was violating an airspace near a nuclear facility or something like that, I think it would be a classified investigation. Somebody would have to investigate that. But I don't think there's no deep men in black organization in the CIA. That's what they do full time. They have a full time staff that investigates extraterrestrials. That's my personal belief. I have no proof that they do exist or they don't exist.
This is a good spot to take a break because actually we are at the top of the hour too. So just stay with us. Don't go anywhere. And I'm talking about those listeners. Don't touch that mouse. This is Fade to Black. We're talking to Antonio Paris of API. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Take a break for a couple of seconds. We'll be right back. More with Antonio. Stay with us, Antonio.
Awesome.
One 800-916-6232. That's the number you need to call when you are seeking spiritual enlightenment and searching for your true purpose here on Earth. www.lovespellstoday.com. They provide psychic readings, love spells, reversal of spells, custom spells, chakra balancing, energy work. Divine guidance is just one phone call away. Call 1-800-916-6232 for your free psychic reading. I did. And tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hello, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
My name is Nick Dominguez. Hi, I'm Rex Dominguez, and I listen to jimmychurchradio.com. Jimmy, your preacher.
Amen. This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're of the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
KJCR.
jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right, everybody. Fade to Black. KJCR, jimmychurchradio.com on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Great show. Talking to Antonio Paris. If you head over to jimmychurchradio.com, jimmychurchradio.com, we've got a bunch of pictures posted up from API. Some of them classics, some of them hoaxes, some of them undetermined. But we put up some stuff. So go over to jimmychurchradio.com and you can check out what Antonio and I are talking about right now. And some of the, Antonio, you with us?
I'm still here.
Okay. Some of the things that you have determined as hoaxes, by the way, I'm going to say this I'm going to be politically correct here. There are some other sites that don't share your opinion. And so I have to ask you, not to get specific,
Sure.
That we don't need to do that, but who's determining the hoaxed photographs? Is that you?
That's normally we run it through various software programs, and the software will tell us whether several things, whether the photo is legitimate, whether the photo actually matches the witness's testimony, and more importantly, whether the photo was tampered with. I'm always more concerned with whether the photo was tampered with. A lot of times witnesses will take photos of something and want it exaggerated. They'll tamper it or they'll do things to the photo to make it look more elaborate. And when we interview them, and if their interviews don't match what the software is saying, then we have to throw the entire story out. And and that's for several reasons. Once you taint the evidence, then it's kind of what they in law school, I think it's the what do they call it, the rotten fruit from the tree or something like that.
Right.
Something like that. Once you taint the evidence, then the entire story's out. But for the main part is a lot of these photos, we ran them through software and some forensic software as well, and usually within 15 minutes it'll tell you it's a hoax.
The way that you, and I don't want anybody to refrain from submitting to your site because they're scared now after hearing that. Well, he's just going to shoot it down.
I gotta add one thing.
Well, because I was going to add one thing. Well, hold on. Before you add, I'm going to add. Is that I appreciate the fact that you are such a black and white, evidence-oriented, investigator. When I'm reading some of your investigations, and you some of them are just like, dismissed. And it's just, and I appreciate that point of view from the investigative standpoint because, your time is valuable. That's first. But second, if it doesn't pass the sniff test, like you're saying, one little piece of rotten fruit is going to taint everything. Therefore, we're not moving forward. Case dismissed.
Yeah. One of the things that, and I think I'm going to do this in the future, when you click on a case, you're really just seeing a synopsis. Do me a favor. If you're on the website now,
I am.
I want you to type in where up in the top right where it says you got the little search thing.
Okay, on the homepage?
Yeah, on the homepage. Type in 13-093.
Okay, let me get back to the homepage. You know what? I don't see the search.
Is it right next to, on the top right, you see all the little handles for...
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I am there.
And I want everybody, if they're on the website, to do what I'm doing now. Type in 13-093.
093.
You should get a case that says Federalsburg, Maryland.
13093.
13-093.
093. Got it. Okay.
Okay. So all the reports that you see are very tiny. But if you click right under 13-093, you see a little link that says click for full report.
Got it.
You're going to get an example of what a investigation looks like. This is what we do for most cases. So when you read the little synopsis on the website, it looks like almost like we're just reading a case and dismissing it. It's not. Look at the work that we do for all the cases that come in, all the checklists, all the interviews, all the processes involved. So this PDF will give you a good indication of what an investigation looks like.
Wow.
So my goal is to catch up eventually and add all these to all those cases that you see on the website that don't have the reports because the initial server we had wouldn't have had enough space for all these files. But now that I got a better server with WordPress, I think I'm going to go back now and start uploading all these case files, these actual case files, so that we don't get, well, you just said it. I'm reading at your blurb and it's dismissed. It's because you're not reading the entire case file.
See, I just learned something. And but and looking at this now I'm shocked. Okay, that this kind of work is actually going on. I was already impressed. And I'm not playing up to you at all. I'm just saying, I've seen this for the first time. But when you were with MUFON, this is what you were trying to get them to do?
I was trying. Let me tell you. Okay, they're not as elaborate as this. They're not standardized, and it's not their fault. It's because MUFON really is 50 different organizations. Every state director is doing his own thing. Sure, they collaborate once a year during the symposium. So when I became the assistant state director for Maryland, I see this report right here. I created the same exact report for MUFON. I said, hey, and it's database. It's like you click on these little things. You don't have to type anything. And I sent this to MUFON headquarters, and I got crickets, you know. And I had a couple of directors that are still friends with me, state directors, and said, Antonio, we've been trying to do this for decades, and 50 different directors want to do 50 different things, and they thanked me, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll use it for my organization, you know. And it's been working great for my team, and now we're all on the same page. We know what steps need to be done. Some steps don't need to be, you know, obviously don't need to be done. But here is a nice standardized report investigation that I'm going to start uploading for the cases that we do.
You brought up Men in Black earlier.
I'm not a Man in Black. I get it all the time.
Exactly. So, and all of the consistent reports of Men in Black, I don't know if it's turned into urban legend, and now it's legendary, and it's a myth, and there's a difference between legend and legendary, as we know by definition. Is there a Men in Black? Is there really, or is it something that you wouldn't even know about that if it did exist?
It's funny. I think that it's going back to the other argument that I said earlier. I think if it was a national security threat, you would, and somebody reported something, you would probably get a knock on your door by, I don't know, FBI or Air Force OSI. And these guys wear suits, whatever, But we have to go back to the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, where FBI, Army, Air Force with Blue Book actually investigated these reports. And they would, it's what they wore. They didn't wear the uniform. They wore their black suits, etc. And on occasion, it's reported that on certain conditions they threatened witnesses. And this is mainly in part because it was the Cold War. They thought it was the Soviets. But anyway, I think those stories grew to legends. And on occasion now you get stories of strange Men in Black visiting. Some stories are more strange than other. I've investigated stories where the alleged Men in Black looked like extraterrestrials or clones or not human. There's no proof of that, just a couple of strange videos here and there. But I think some governments overseas still investigate the phenomena, and they have their little versions of X-Files and things like that. I think maybe, when I think of somebody investigating, I prefer to say maybe someone in Bigelow Airspace is more concerned about UFOs than the government. So I think someone, there are interested parties out there that do investigate this stuff from a national security perspective.
Who do you think?
I wouldn't necessarily.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't think, I hear this at conferences all the time. The NSA has a UFO team, the CIA has a UFO team. I don't think, at first it doesn't mean their mission. And I think, my personal opinion, I think the government has more things to worry about than aliens. A lot of people out of work, a lot of people hungry. You got healthcare, a lot of wars going on, counterterrorism. A lot of things take priority than extraterrestrials running amok.
With the two reports that happened last week, aside from the Iranian, well, there's a couple things that came out of Iran, but I'm specifically talking about the incident at Heathrow Airport and also the incident that happened in Bremen, Germany. The Heathrow, well, both of them actually, because officially,
were those like the close counters or calls?
Yeah. And so with both of those cases, there was official investigation going into both of them.
Yeah,
but it just seemed like it just dropped out of sight. There has been no reporting of the reports. No findings.
I'm sure their version of their FAA or their whatever their version is probably investigating it or stuff like that.
Have you heard anything?
I have not. I have a guy out there, Lawrence in the UK. I know he's looking into that. I just wish we can get here in the US we can get use a FOIA request to get some radar information.
Right.
I don't know what the process is for over there, so I'm sure it's not as easy as here. But that would be cool to try to get some radar analysis of what transpired to see if this actually happened.
Well, there was witnesses on the ground in Germany that saw it. That's the first thing. And like I said, there was an official response with emergency and had to shut down there was.
Yeah, he said it was a cigar too, cigar shape.
Well, I can't remember what the airline was, what the carrier was at Heathrow, but he had to take an evasive maneuver where he, with his co-pilot, did not have time to even speak to his co-pilot. He just, went into a dive. Like there was an imminent situation there. And for that to be that dramatic, now you've got a couple of 100 passengers sitting on the plane that, obviously were traumatized. But so this event happened, but it's just been total silence since. I was hoping for something more official to come out, but nothing from anybody. It's just kind of strange. Both of these events happened within a few days of each other. And is it coincidence? I don't know, but it's both of the reports are almost identical, but yet now we have silence coming from overseas. I don't understand why.
We have to be careful, with speculating. At this point, it's just a UFO, and I love when I'm reading. I'm actually reading the Daily Mail right now. And their headlines is, "Are they out there? Who is out there?" They already in the first sentence they're already alleging it's extraterrestrial without even knowing, without even looking at the full report. The article's already shaped that it's extraterrestrial when it's an amazing object. It was a close call, but it's a UFO. It could have been anything. But the media spins it already and. It's like the speed of light. The stories already went around the world, at the speed of light that it was an extraterrestrial craft.
Are you in possession of anything out of this world? And from your investigations, is it in your evidence collecting? Is there? Do you possess that smoking gun?
I don't know. I really don't. I have, most of the photos we get are usually through email. On occasion, we get them mailed to us, which is pretty cool. So I have a couple of photos of some strange objects, truly unidentified, when I finish the cases. I don't really have any physical evidence. The pieces of metals we had were all destroyed during analysis. I'm just waiting for that smoking gun. And, trust me, you guys will be one of the first ones, if we ever get that smoking gun. How does your belief stand? Do you think that we have been visited in the past? Do you think we're currently? I think that there is a possibility that they have visited us in the past, and perhaps maybe still do or did recently. I don't think that there are multiple species. People, the Greys, the Nordics, the you name it, all those guys. The reptilians. I don't think they're running amok, on our planet with underground bases, and that's just as a planetary scientist, and that's my second book that I'm writing about is looking at this from a purely planetary science perspective, an astrophysics perspective. I think I'm more inclined to believe that if extraterrestrials existed. They probably kind of would do what we're doing, sending probes out, reconnaissance probes and things like that, and kind of looking from a distance. I don't think, all these stories of aliens running around, abducting people for what purpose, I don't know. I really don't buy those. It's alien abductions, and this is my my sarcasm kicked in now. If alien abductions have been going on, so let's say since Benny and Barney Hill in '61, there's probably been thousands of abductions since then. At what point will you finish your thesis? How many abductions do you need and experiences do you need to come with your conclusions? We went to the moon. We were there for a few months and we're done. I don't buy the whole, they're not making themselves aware because we're not ready. Give me a break. We're all ready.
Well, when you talk to, this is how I feel. When you talk to, I had Travis Walton on the show.
He's one of my, I know him.
Yeah, he was on the show a few weeks ago. And when you listen to Travis, it's one thing to see him video and stuff, but when you actually talk to Travis,
sure.
that really happened. And that is, it's one of those things where you listen to him talk about it and you feel for him because he went through something very traumatic. Go ahead.
Yeah, Travis and I are really close. I just saw him not long ago in Philly, and we talk all the time. And I think we just spoke about a week ago, and I truly think something did happen to him. But he knows Antonio. He understands what my mission is I just wish he had some physical proof. He's a good friend of mine. I think something traumatic happened to him. I think something did happen to him. But it's still a good story, just like your little UFO, thing.
Right.
And I just wish other people like him, well, I don't wish, I wish that one day someone could come forward with a good story and physical proof. And then maybe we could just put all this away and finally say, okay, here it is. They're here and we can shut down aerial phenomena and move on. And there's no need to keep going forward. But my goal is to get those Travis Waltons, but with a little more, with some physical proof. And then maybe I can go into a court of law and say, this happened. Beyond a reasonable doubt, I can convince a jury. Here's the physical proof. Here's the credible witnesses. I put it all here in the courtroom, and I can win the jury 12-0. And that's my goal. I can't go into a courtroom with just stories.
Tell me about Unsealed Alien Files and how you got involved there.
That's a pretty cool gig. I've probably done maybe about, 5-6 shows with them. And I was actually doing an investigation in the Men in Black case. And I guess they saw the video on YouTube. And they just called me. They called me one day and said, hey, we'd like to interview you. And that was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago maybe. And ever since then, they've switched producers, back and forth. But every time they switch producers, they kind of keep me in the loop. But ever since then, they, they'll ask for me. They'll tell me, okay, we're doing an episode on, let's say, the Kecksburg incident, which we did not too long ago. And they'll interview me. They'll ask me questions and things like that. So I think if you look at the shows, though, I'm still straightforward. I just provide facts. I don't really opinionize anything. I leave that up to the viewers. And they do their special effects and their crazy UFO music, and But I think it's a cool show. We got other projects coming up, though. We got something going on with National Geographic. Called Aerial Phenomena, just like my book. We have another project. We have about 3 different projects this summer and this spring, so it's going to be very busy. I also have my next book coming up, which is cool. I'll be going to the VLA in New Mexico and the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico in the next 2 weeks to do some research, legitimate research, in space studies, and look at the extraterrestrial phenomena from that perspective. So I think the second book will be a better hit than the first one.
You are so busy. Plus, you did that documentary too, Area 51.
That was pretty cool too.
It's a great documentary, and I've had on here on the show, and a lot of my friends from MUFON, they live here, or MUFON LA, live here in Los Angeles, and we've done a lot of coverage on Area 51, and it's a fascinating subject to me, and I have never been there, but I do want to. And you know what I would love to do? I would love for you to take me out on one of your trips. I'll be one of your triage guys.
I'll be going to California soon. I'm going out there to do a visit with SETI, and also to meet with Bill Murphy for our Epicon LA. We're doing a conference in Los Angeles. And
is the date set for Epicon LA?
We're looking for fall of this year.
Okay.
So sometime around April, we'll have the set date and location. But I was thinking more like in the Halloween time frame. Set the theme and things like that. So, and it also doesn't conflict with other conferences in the area.
Right.
But that's gonna be fun too. So probably in the spring, I'll be heading out to California to interview. I have an interview I'm supposed to do with a witness who allegedly her dad was a Man in Black, and she sent me some anecdotal evidence. Photos of him. Allegedly, she's got some stuff that he studied UFOs. He was probably CIA and things like that. So that's an interview that I'm looking forward to out there, and I think that's also that's in Los Angeles. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, looking forward to meeting you when you come out. Now, how is the Tampa Epicon working out? And that's coming
Pretty
up.
good.
Now that's coming up. That's in May, isn't it?
That's in May. It's the same theme. Last year we did UFO Con. This year we changed the name. We're like, you know what? Let's just market it. Continue marketing the aerial phenomena. So aerial phenomena conference, and it's gonna be 2 days instead, and that's gonna be cool. I think we're gonna sell out like last year. We've already sold out of the VIP. We sold out of VIP tickets like in a week and a half. So that was pretty quick. And just like ticket sales go up and down, we're kind of in the slow. Monday through Thursday is always slow, and then the weekend, boom, we get like 50 tickets. In one weekend. We have to go with the fire marshal laws, so we can only fit 400 at the hotel. So we're gonna probably do only 350 people. So we have some maneuverability. But I think we're gonna sell out there. So we're hoping for the LA conference to be a little bigger, maybe 500 people.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the LA conference, and we have a huge demographic that comes out of Florida that listens to this show. So you can head over to it's aerialphenomena.org. I think there's a hyphen in there, but we've got the links up on our website. So you can go over to jimmychurchradio.com, link back over to Aerial Phenomenon, and all of the information is there for the Tampa event. But what I'm more impressed with is who you've got speaking. And I'm not pitching in any way the event. That's not why you're on this show tonight. You're on the show to have a conversation with me. But when I look at this, I'm like, holy cow, look at, this is the real deal. And
well, I know all these guys personally. I've met them at various different conferences. And I just said, last year I think we only had Bill Murphy and John Alexander, but this year I wanted these other faces here. But you're gonna see slowly, me kind of shaping aerial phenomena to bring in new speakers. So that's why I have, I look at all these faces here, and you got a couple of the usuals, the Bill Burns, the Travis Waltons. That's marketing stuff, obviously. It's to bring in people. And then you got the people that you rarely don't see. It's the Anthony Sanchez, the Marsha Barnharts, the Chris Flemings,
right,
and the Bill Murphys. And my point is slowly I want to shape these guys, the younger faces, to be the future of ufology. So in the coming years, as these guys become, more out there, I'll slowly fade away the old timers. And not that there's nothing wrong with them, but that's the whole purpose, is for me to revive ufology, to bring in newer faces, fresh faces, I go to these conferences and 99%, it's like an ARP convention. 99% of the people in there are retired in wheelchairs. Where's the younger generation?
That's why you are on this show. And
that's why I'm bringing on the younger faces.
Yes.
It's to attract that new generation. And last year's conference, I noticed, was about half the conference was about people in their 30s and 40s, which was a good thing. And that's because I marketed it that way. And I think the Tampa conference is looking like that too. And these are all great speakers. I love Bill Burns. I love John Alexander. Travis, good friend of mine. But I want to bring in these fresh faces. Marsha Barnhart from Aerial Phenomena. Man, she is like this woman. I don't know. It's like she's from Harvard. She has like the best linguistics ever, and she can really tell a good brief. So she's passionate about UFOs as well. So and Bill Murphy's obviously he's Bill Murphy. He's awesome. So, and
absolutely. Well, and Nick Redfern is also one of the best speakers out there, and we're going to have him on the show here in a couple of weeks, and I'm really, really looking forward to that too as well.
Yeah, I met him for the first time last year, and I said, hey, I got to have you on at my conference, and like within minutes, he was like, yeah, no problem. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well,
and then,
you've got to get up, and I just want to. Yeah, exactly. And so, thank you for taking the time for coming in. Now, if you want to hang for another 15 minutes, that's up to you. And I got
to roll.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for coming in, and I'll shoot you an email tomorrow, and we'll follow up. But all the best. You're the hardest working man in ufology, and I really appreciate everything.
I just want to close it off with, hey, for the most part, aerial phenomena. We ask hard questions. We're borderline skeptics, but my message to everybody is never stop believing. If this is what your passion is, and you can investigate it, but make sure you investigate it the right way, and don't let stay away from stovepipe thinking, and don't let your biases derail your process. And I wish the best of luck for everybody.
Well, but that's a great point. And what I had said earlier was I don't want people to hold back from going to your website because of the analysis. It's the analysis is going to help you too as well. And if you need that analysis and that type of investigation, then that's exactly where you need to go. You need to go to API. And
when I ask those tough questions, people quickly realize I'm helping them to get to come back with me with better questions and better answers. And I get that a lot. I'll have somebody call me back 6 months later. Antonio, I submitted a report about 6 months ago. I'm back with more information. And that's cool. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to say, all right, we don't want to listen to you.
No, that's exactly it. And when I look at your website and I look at the determination and how you are how you are approaching it, that is exactly it. It's the 21st century. It's where things need to go. And one of the things, and I'm not in any way, I've got too many friends out there. I'm not, but is we do need the fresh faces. We do need the younger audience. We need them to be aware. We need them to be interested. We need them to be talking about it, because if we don't, then it's just going to go away, and then we're rolling that rock uphill. And that's where you're coming in, and I'm serious. The amount of work and time that you put into all of this is just phenomenal. And you are the hardest working man in show business right now. And I really appreciate it. So does everybody. Yeah, right. So anyway, it is aerialphenomenon.org with a hyphen. And if you go to jimmychurchradio.com, if that's too much work, the links are there. But get over there and check out the hard work that Antonio is doing. And again, thank you for coming in. And if there's anything we can do, you know how to contact us. All right. And awesome. I appreciate it. You too. Thank you, Antonio. Antonio Paris, API.org. All right. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when I come back, we'll be taking your calls. Phone lines are open. 323-825-5045. Be right back. Stay with us.
On JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? My name's Brian Taylor, Ninja Badass Extraordinaire, and this is JimmyChurchRadio.com.
JJCR in your face.
JimmyChurchRadio.com. On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right. Fade to black. KJCR, JimmyChurchRadio.com on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Phone lines are open. Taking your calls right now. 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Get over to JimmyChurchRadio.com. And all of the links are there if you want to Skype too as well. Skype is Fade2Black14, all one word. We can take your Skype calls too. Again, 323-825-5045. Thank you, Antonio Paris. And the thing is with Antonio, when you go, I didn't want to run this or seem like I was running that into the ground, but the amount of work and the determination that he is doing right now with his organization, it's phenomenal. And the links are right there. We posted a bunch of pics from his website, too, at JimmyChurchRadio.com. But the amount of work, and he was so busy, I couldn't get him on the show. He wanted to come on the show. He was just too busy to come on the show. But we finally got him. And he's just one of the most impressive guys. And when you look at his pedigree and his career and, special agent and counterintelligence and Bronze Stars, it's humbling to me. But for somebody like that to decide that his career could have gone in any direction, he could have done anything in his life that he wanted to do, and he chose this. And the way that he has approached it, it's not like anything else that I have seen with any other organization, period. And that I'm talking about going back dozens of years. He has decided to take an approach, the black and white approach to ufology. And I don't agree with him on every point. But I think that the way that he is approaching his view and the way that he wants to deal with it, he is spot on the money. And there is nothing wrong. I am, and you've heard me say this on the show so many times, I'm a black and white guy too. I want that. I want it. I'm not a skeptic. I know that we're being visited, and, he said the same thing, but I know that it's going on. But what I need is the proof. I need our government to stop lying to us about it, and I need, the proof to shut everybody up. And one of the things that he had said is he would shut it down tomorrow. If he just had that proof, if he had the one thing where he could just shut the case down, and that's it, and he would shut everything down because he wouldn't need to do it anymore. But he's out there fighting the good fight every single day. And if you go to his website and check it out, you'll understand where he is coming from and where I am coming from. I'm really excited about his conference coming out here in October. Halloween's a good time. Okay, I am taking your calls, by the way. 323-825-5045. Talk about anything. Let's keep it. Let's just keep it open lines. Whatever you want to talk about is fine with me. And give us a call. And I'm going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Going to take a quick break. We've gotten a lot in. I need to take 5. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Hey, this is Alan Johannes from the Vultures and Queens of the Stone Age. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Rock on.
All right, everybody, welcome back. KJCR, Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Shoot me an email to Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Got a bunch of emails here. I'm going to start reading through these. A lot of Twitter action, too, as well. All right. Email me to Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. We are taking your calls, 323-825-5045. You need to write that down. 323-825-5045. And if you go over to jimmychurchradio.com, everything is there as well, and including Skype, which is Fade to Black 14. And if you're wondering what the 14 is, that's for my favorite race car driver of all time. His name is A.J. Foyt. He had a birthday the other day, 79 years old, but his number was 14. So that's, if you think there's some hidden meaning there, well, there is. And that hidden meaning is 14. It's A.J. Foyt's number. So it's Fade to Black 14. All right, I got this email during the show, and I want to read through it. Check it out. And it goes like this. It's my husband, Chad. Well, okay, I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, my husband, Chad, 23 years, and I first saw a massive UFO with other witnesses in Hammond, Louisiana, that seemed to try to prepare us and another friend, coworker Jacqueline, to be taken off a street corner 2 days later while living and working in the French Quarter of New Orleans. We had no alcohol that night before this happened, and much high strangeness, too. And again, I'm just reading this as it has come in, so just stay with me. Chad had his regression, saying that he and Jacqueline are on a craft out in the universe dealing with 4 types of beings. I am the only one that has the memory of between and in my memory that I am not with the other 2, nor the being that I was with wasn't with Chad on the craft. I am also the only one that appears to have the unknown implant just under the top layer of skin that can be seen by sight and touch. I came to the next day in my living room, sitting up with my eyes popping open to discover the object in my upper arm. Now, reading this, I'm going to continue in a second, but Alta, I know you're probably listening to the show because you just sent us the email, and if you'd like to discuss this email, it's pretty amazing. Just give us a quick call. We'll screen the call, and we'll get you at the front of the line. The number is 323-825-5045. Let me continue. Chad is the one who first saw that my arms from the back had bruises, 4 very long digital handprints as if they were from behind that lasted a day or two. The unknown wouldn't take a pic or x-ray until the 3rd time, totally flipping out the MD and his staff. I'm not sure what MD means. I know how nuts this sounds, but just a small portion. This is just a small portion of what is happening to us. If my deceased mom is to be believed, she shared with a few of us that she trusted, that when I was a baby in 1957 and 1958, she and I were driving across the desert and a UFO had landed on the road and stopped her car. I never, nor did anyone else ever challenge that statement nor ask any questions of her. So this is all that I know that was said. I have much mystery in my early childhood, but I am told I am of mixed Indian blood from Arizona and that my mom and I, we left there when I was very little. I met Chad in Little Rock in 1990. With no doubt now in my mind that we were arranged by them to meet. Oh, that's interesting. Again, much high strangeness in our meeting, but I will close just saying that within 24 hours of meeting Chad, we both discovered that his deceased grandfather, who the world knew as George, birth name is Alta, and his name is Duncan, which is also my mom's name. Please guide me further with how to share this. Well, just give us a call, Alta. I know you're probably listening right now. 323-825-5045. All right, a couple of things I wanted to cover really quick while we're hopefully waiting for Alta to call and get to a phone. 323-825-5045 is the number. Alta, give us a call. I do want to talk about this. I want to talk about that invisible UFO that I was talking about earlier today. The video is, how do you say invisible UFO? Well, if you go and look, and it's over at artbell.com, I think we might have a link at jimmychurchradio.com. But if you go and look at the video, it is with a telescope. If you look at the video, it is obvious that it's a round object, large, and as it moves across the as it moves through space, I should say, as it's moving through space, you can see through it. If I'm not making sense, it's because it's clear, but you can see the distortion, and it's a perfect circle, by the way. Perfect circle. It is not something that you have to imagine that you're looking at. You can see the distortion of space around this event, and as it moves, now the video, just for sake of anything else, I'm just trying to describe it, how it's presented. The object is moving from right to left, and as it moves from right to left, and it's a long video too, as it moves from right to left, you can see that this event is large. And it's I can't figure out. It's kind of like maybe a bubble. If you're looking at a bubble and you can see through the bubble, but because there's like a lens, you see the distortion of what's going on behind it as a bubble would pass in front of you. That's kind of what you're seeing with this object, and it's large and it's moving across, and I can't explain it. It's very rarely in my life do I scratch my head and go, I don't know what to say. Well, this is one of those videos, and I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm looking at, and I've watched it now so many times. It's a long video too. I've watched it so many times where I just don't know what that is, and it looks to me like gravity, or there's some kind of field that is around the object. Now, it could be that there is some type of ship, and stay with me on this, some type of ship in the middle of this field, in the middle of this bubble. That could be, and it could be that it's, there's such a great distance here that we're talking about from Earth, where it's being shot from, that you just can't see this object. It's too small, but there's some type of force field around it that is moving space, some type of gravity field that is moving space around it so it can move forward. Think about what I'm saying. Now, it doesn't, if you remember back, let's go back to what Bob Lazar used to describe the gravity engines that were used on the flying saucers that he described. I don't want to get too in depth with that, but it's almost the same description. It's like something is being moved in front of this object, allowing it to move through space. I don't know what it is, but it opens up the imagination to so many different things. I've never seen anything like that. If this had been videotaped before, if there had been video out like of an object like this before, we'd have some type of reference where we could go, okay, it's like that. No, you've never seen anything like this, and I need somebody to tell me what it is before we jump to a conclusion like that. Well, it's an invisible UFO. Well, you know what? You look at this video, that's exactly what it is, and it's obviously moving space around it. So it can move through and around that, move forward. It could be backing up. I don't know. It's just going from right to left. But you have to see the video. I don't know what conclusion to draw, but it's obviously an object moving through space that is moving space. It's bending space in front of it as it moves across the screen. You have to see it. It is absolutely fascinating. All right, I'm going to take another quick break, and we'll be back right after this. This is Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network, and I'll be back right after this. My name is Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Shoot me an email, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Listen to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will, on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. KJCR on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm getting settled back in here. All right. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Give us a call, 323-825-5045. All right. Let me get back to some emails here. There was a couple of things that I wanted to go back and follow up with some of the comments that Antonio had made about abduction. When I had to stop him, the phenomenon of abduction is real. And I understand where he is coming from. His type of investigating doesn't warrant that. Okay, that's fine. That type of investigating, he wants to leave that up to himself. But the people that get together at MUFON, and they need to talk about this because the experience is real. And because the experience is real, they need to talk about it. And because when Jerome Clark was on the show last week, you have the experience anomaly. And the experience anomaly is an experience that you don't have evidence to go with your experience, photograph, witnesses. But that doesn't mean that the experience wasn't real. And in my meeting with not only, that's why I had to bring up Travis Walton, and I know that him and Travis are friends, and he believes Travis, but you can't dismiss somebody's experience just because it's an experience anomaly without witnesses to or evidence or video to back up the experience. You know, that's I had to put the brakes on that. Because when I go and meet and talk and interview abductees, that experience is real. And one of the things that I definitely wanted to bring forward is, and I don't want to sound wrong here. I don't want to sound like I'm not right, is what I'm trying to say. Is I think that the traditional ETH, the traditional way of looking at things, is spacecraft flying across the universe, covering light years and distances and vast. That's probably not the way things are happening. I think it's a little bit deeper than that, and I think it is bending of time and space and parallel universes, and able to get here in nanoseconds and not thousands of light years of space travel. And if that is indeed the case, which I think is the case, that means that visitation and abduction is a very real phenomena that can happen all the time. So I need to and want to hear from anybody that is experiencing that. And I don't want anybody to not talk about it because they think that it can't happen. It can. And again, with Antonio's view, and he's right, Antonio's view is he's just a black and white guy. He's an investigator. He's a counterintelligence agent. He's somebody that is out there investigating. So he wants to investigate real evidence where something that he can put his teeth into. And I understand that point of view, but that doesn't mean that the people that get together at MUFON meetings or come on this show, their experiences aren't just as genuine. It's just a different type of experience. And it's an experience anomaly. That's why I had that show the other night with Jerome Clark. And so anyway, I please, if you have an experience like the email that I just read to you, absolutely contact this show. I want to know. I can put you in contact with the people that you do need to talk to. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I got a couple of calls coming in. We're going to grab those in just a second. Everybody stay with us. I'll be back right after this. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Shoot me some more email. I got a couple I'm going to read here in a minute. Be back right after this on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Stay with us.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will. On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
He's always giving it to you straight.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black, KJCR. Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Just love saying it. Just rolls off the tongue correctly. They named this network absolutely the right way. I'm telling you. It's an easy thing to say. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Don't forget to head over to Twitter. Follow us on Twitter @jchurchradio and the Facebook page. Now, talking about really quick, hardcore investigating versus, hearing somebody just talk about their experiences. I went out and, I've been to a couple of different meetings and what's the word that I want to use? Not convention, but a couple of meetings, gatherings, events over the last couple of weeks that were dealing specifically with abduction. And as I sit and listen, it's not so much the abduction that I think that is interesting me. It's the crowd, the people out there that are listening, that their interest in it and their own personal experiences, and that to me is where it needs to be dealt with on a serious note. And I don't know how else to explain it. Got a couple of calls coming in, and let's see here. Anyway, we'll get to them in a second. Okay. Again, I'm hoping it's Alta. I want to speak with Alta. Give me a call, 323-825-5045. Alta, if you are out there, 323-825-5045. The experience anomaly is something that is real. And when I was speaking earlier with Antonio about what we saw, where it could have been a satellite or whatever, but there was nothing to back that up. So it turns into just a story. But it doesn't mean that the story isn't real. And I am fascinated with that. I want to hear. I want those emails. I want people to participate. Okay? Hold on for a quick second. I've got a couple of calls coming in. And I will be back right after this. Just stay with us. Fade to Black, Jimmy Church on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Be back.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Hey, this is Alan Johannes from the Vultures and Queens of the Stone Age. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Oh, God.
All right, everybody, welcome back. KJCR, JimmyChurchRadio.com. Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Shoot me an email to Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Follow us over on Twitter. Audience interaction is what this show is about. You can go over to the website. We have the forums over there after the show tonight. Like I always do, I'll jump over on the forums, hang out, answer your questions, check out what you're posting, and it's one of the coolest things to be able to do. And emails and the interaction and the texts that come in, just absolutely what the show is about. It's called hanging out with you guys, and that's what I love doing. And I want everybody out there. When I started in radio, one of the things that I wasn't ever really able to do was participate, and I wasn't able to speak my mind and be heard. And that was the thing that I wanted to do with this show, was hear from everybody, read emails, give a place for people to gather and to share their ideas. And this past, I would say the past 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, the amount of email and interaction that I've had with various paranormal groups from around the country it's just been phenomenal. And communicating and talking and seeing what's going on the forums and the different ghost hunting, paranormal groups. Let me grab this call really quick. And let's see who we have. This is Just Doing It. Oh. You're live on the air.
Yeah. This is Mark from Murrieta. I just wanted to tell you that I've been enjoying your shows when I can catch them, and I especially enjoyed that one with Wolf Ralph McCarran about Area 51.
Well, that's Mark. We were talking. I don't know if you were listening to Antonio Paris earlier, but he did a documentary on Area 51, and we had Norio on as well as Wolf. And my fascination with Area 51. I have never been up there. Have you been to Area 51, by the way?
No, I've known Wolf for almost 20 years, so I feel like I've been out there, but no, I haven't been.
But there's a weird thing for me with Area 51. Although I believe I really do. I believe Bob Lazar's story. I really do. And as crazy and as out there as Bob got with that, to me it just got a little more believable. You know, I'm not a guy that wears tinfoil on my head and runs around, and I'm not that guy. But the thing with Lazar and his stories about the base and his description of things, not so much physical of the base, but his job and how deep he got with it, just to me made it even more believable. And so anyway, and Ralph's experiences out there were the opposite. As you know, Ralph is a black and white guy, man. And I find the Lazar. I've been at this for quite a while as well, and I find the Lazar story interesting and probably more factual than a lot of the horse crap that's out there, but it would have been nice to have been able to confirm a little bit more through documentation. I know the whole story about how it's been all of the stuff's been wiped away and stuff, but right. it would be nice to confirm just a little bit more. Even Norio has some major concerns about that, but the story is one of the more believable ones, at least on the surface. Well, I can tell you, I'll just say this now without going any further. Bob Lazar is probably listening to this show right now. Okay, and
no, that's fine. I don't call him a liar.
No. Wait, no.
Could you, right?
No.
You really can't.
Exactly. No, that's not what I mean. That's not where I'm going.
Yeah.
I have been in communication with Mr. Lazar, and so I know that he's listening to the show. And one of the things that him and I were talking about this week was that the past has been discussed into the ground. What my thing with Bob, and this is what I told him, and I'm not playing around about this at all, and I'm not disclosing anything really private, is that I want to know, why you dropped out and what you're doing today. That's all. Because he had us all. He had the entire country sucked in and hanging on his every word for a couple of years. You know what I mean? And you were right there. You were doing the same thing. and I just want to know the ending to the story. That's what I want. I want to know what are you doing now today? Because you just can't come in and become a part of our life like that. You can't, and then just abandon us. And that's where it's at. So, but that's the thing is with Norio, and Norio's a great guy, by the way. I love that guy. The thing is with Norio is he was there in the beginning. He was right there, man, and he stumbled upon it. It's like you're backing out of the driveway in your car and you run over your kid's bike, or you back over a bag full of money, but you're surprised with it was an unknown event that happened to Norio, but he was right there in the beginning. So if anybody can, because I've never met Bob and I wasn't there, so I don't have a perspective to call BS on something. I only know what I can see now from a historical perspective.
I completely agree. He is one of the cases that you just can't counter with other facts and stuff. So yes, you're right there. There are plenty of them out there that seem to be completely fabricated, but his
like,
is
like what? Give me an example.
Well, the Meier case, the autopsy case. There's a lot of cases out there that let's just say if you can't prove they're not factual, you just have to use your best research capabilities and hopefully come up with some sort of an answer. I know you might be trying to have Philip Mantle on.
Yes.
I actually do his website. I helped him write his last book on the alien autopsy, and I know that he'll be on your show.
Yes.
So, we spent 20 years researching that case, not 20 months like most.
Well, okay. Let me, Mark, if you don't mind, because you've caught me a little bit by surprise. But since you're on the show, and Philip will be on, and I don't want to rain on his parade at all. But since I do have you, let's talk. Do you have a few minutes to talk about the alien autopsy case? You got a few minutes?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Sure. I'm kind of so that say disconnects us. Probably wise.
Okay, well, I was one of those guys when and I'm not BSing in any sense of in any way, when I lived in Sherman Oaks at that time. And if you remember Tower Records, on Ventura Boulevard, right, which was in front of my condo. Okay, so that was my hangout, and I would go in there and have those guys order every single alien and UFO video that was here comes the UFO guy, right? So I would go in there, and whatever they could do, they would come in. And if you remember, videos back then were like $50, So the word is out about this alien autopsy video. So I go in there and I'm like, dudes, and they're like, hey man, $69.95. Okay, all right, I'll fork it over. And I didn't know it was going into Ray Santilli's pocket, but anyway, so I wait, and the video comes in a couple of days, and I ran home with that video like O.J. Simpson running from the crime of the scene, man. I mean, I was scene of the crime. I ran home, got that thing into the VCR, and watched it from beginning to end. I was right there. I was one of those guys. Now, looking back, Mark, were we duped?
Well, my history is I bought 2 NTSCs directly from Santilli, and I also got the copy of the video he gave to Robert Kiviat that was shown on Fox. I got a copy of that. I purloined the copy a month before it was shown on Fox, and I also was the guy who released the cameraman's interview in the United States because I got it from a friend of mine in Japan because that's the only place they released it. So I've been into this thing forever. Met with the special effects guy Stan Winston, met with the K&B guys out your way, talked to cameramen, just, you know, autopsies, the whole thing. And it's still to this day I have an email group of about 15 guys from around the globe who have worked on this thing. And what it comes down to is that Mr. Mantle has seen enough positive information to prove it to him that he found the guy who shot him, made the effects, did the whole thing. So he is the man to talk to because he lives in the same country as the guy who supposedly made all this. Before we found this guy, I've been on the fence the entire time about it. I believe Philip. I've known him a long time.
Right.
And if Philip says he's seen enough hands-on material and talked to this guy in his house, and if he says that it's all horse crap and it's all made up, I do believe him. It just opens up a whole door of issues with Santilli saying that what you bought for $69 was all the footage from the cameraman, which now even he says, we recreated it. Well, Mr. Church, you bought it because he told you it was the real stuff, not that he recreated it. Yes?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So it does seem as though Mr. Mantle has finally put a stake in the coffin for most of us. A couple people on my group refuse to believe that it's not real. So you'll never be able to convince everybody in the world of any case at all, the Billy Meier case, right?
Right.
Maybe there was a little bit of truth, and maybe a few of the photos were real and such, but we all know that if not all of his stuff, a huge portion of his stuff was made up. We just know it, but we don't know if the entire case was made up. And the issue with the alien autopsy, we think, and Philip Mantle thinks he's proven it, that it's a complete fraud and a fake.
Why would did it all just, you know, and this is the heartbreaking part for all of us, because, and I agree with you, we wanted that to be the real deal. And certainly if it was, then it's the greatest news since, you know, Jesus on the cross kind of thing. And so we all wanted it to be real. But do you think now, after it just came down to money, you know, just suckering in people like myself, it just came down to money and greed? Is that the answer?
It came down to money for Santilli, okay? Because he, again, I won't spill too much here because Phil's the guy who deserves the credit. But one guy comes up with the idea, which is Santilli. He tries to pull off. You heard of that footage that initially wasn't played on Fox, but in the third airing of the show, it was called the tent footage?
Yes.
Right? Well, then Philip found the guys who made that, and the story goes that was the first attempt at doing this. It was shown to Santilli, and he said, no. He brought it to, he saw it and said, wow, this is pretty good. He brought it to this other guy, and the other guy said, this is video, this is crap. We can do it better. And then they worked together. Santilli worked on it for profit and money. The other guy worked on it because he's an artist. He's into film. He's into video. He's a magician. He does special effects, yada, yada, yada. So he never got any money for it at all, period. Santilli made millions off of it. The guy who actually did it made zero.
So, and this is the thing. Santilli went into the wrong field, man. He should have been acting, because if you know what I mean, he should have been an actor, because the way that he handled all of it, not only his participation in the video itself and him steadfast, you know, looking into the camera and describing things, going back to not only the timing and how it was done, but I'm talking about the film stock and getting Kodak involved and researching this and the investigation, and then to bring in what was Ciro Hecht, I think was his name, right?
Wecht.
Ciro Wecht, bringing him in and Santilli and these guys that are legitimate guys in society that we all respect, and just to get everybody else suckered in on this. I doubt that Ciro made any. You know what I mean? It leaves such a bad taste in my mouth today.
It's the Barnum and Bailey side of it. The fact that in 1995, when I downloaded the first scans of the Italian magazine that had the creature on the cover and side, and it took me 15 minutes to download.
Right.
It was perfect timing to put out the information on the CompuServe's Encounters forum where we were talking directly to him, et cetera, et cetera. The timing was perfect. He was masterful at what he did. And even today, you saw the latest when he was on that Sky One show where he said, there's fleeting glimpses of the real footage.
Yes, I did.
Minutes,
yes.
Blah, 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 blah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And
this is the other sad thing. I've got a million questions to ask you about it, but I refuse to even think about why. If that video pops up, if it's on TV or whatever, I'll look away. I'm so disgusted. I don't want to see. I don't want to have anything to do with that at all. I mean, it's just, and it's really, really sad that. And I'm sure you feel the same way now. I mean, it's almost nauseating, the feeling that I get when I see it now.
Yeah. I've probably been involved with it, other than Philip, probably more than anybody, I would assume. Thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, hundreds of miles. And what irritates me mostly is not only that they pulled one over on us, right? And I wanted it to be real too, but I don't have any, I don't want to harm Kiviat who produced it and put it all together, but guys like that, we both know that when they put that Fact or Fiction show together, we both know that a lot of things were said, a lot of stuff was seen, and we should know that stuff. And about once a year, I contact him, hoping that someday, he's a young man, so it may take 40 more years, but someday he'll finally come clean and tell us about his involvement in that thing, because you've got to sit in a room with Santilli. You've got to sit in a room with this video. So I just have a sneaking suspicion that except for the guy who made the creature and shot it all, even Kiviat, everybody, money, and they got your $69, and I bought 2 of those videotapes, so it's sad.
Has anybody else, because there was, you had the nurses, you had the assistants, you had the guy doing the autopsy himself, you had the cameraman. Have you been in contact with anybody else that was actually in the video?
Almost everyone. We know the guy behind the glass. We know the cameraman. In fact, he was an actor, and he's actually got a listing on the Internet Movie Database. We know who the autopsy doctor was. We know who the cameraman was, and we know who the woman was. But I can't spill the beans because Philip's going to be on your show.
This is better than Santilli PR. This is good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he really, I did put in a lot of time and effort to help him on his books and stuff, and he gives me some time in his book for my summary and yada yada yada. But him and I kept this thing going forever. We lost some friends and gained some friends, kind of like religion almost, or politics, right?
Right.
And
well, do you ever find yourself
sad, and the case isn't closed yet because we need this guy to either write a book or put a blog or put up a website or do something to get his information out there. But if he wrote a book, how many people would buy it? 20?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, sure.
It's just not that many people are interested in it now.
Well, there, I would almost disagree with that, because there's a lot of not only believers that were believers. There's a better word for that, but followers of Santilli. And you're right. I mean, millions of dollars. I have no idea how many tapes were sold. I really don't, but it had to really have been out there. And so just based on that, those people need closure too as well.
I agree. And it wasn't the tapes that made him the money. It was he was very, again, bright guy, right? He's a snake oil, but he made a lot of money by selling it to the different territories around the world. Because if you remember, except for one, I think that Italy got to play it the day before, but the rest of the world, and this is 95, it was amazing, the rest of the world played it all on the same night. And he sold it to all those territories separately. So he made a ton of money.
Looking back, and you're a bright guy, you're a smart guy, you would like to think that. Well, I'm telling you now you are. But looking back now, and when you look at the set and the tools and the clock on the wall and the phone there, and have you ever just thought to yourself, you know what, man, I was just stupid, because none of this looks right to me now?
No. I'm kind of like Wolf in this way, and it pissed off a lot of the people in the group that I've kept together, because only a couple of us were on the fence, and we weren't on the fence because we're afraid to make a decision. You can't make a decision on the information that was released. No film was ever released with image on it. No film was ever dated with image on it. It goes on and on and on. So anybody who made the decision or made the call that it was real were deluding themselves, and anybody who said it was fake was deluding themselves, because how can you make the decision without quality evidence? And still to this day, except this guy who says he made it all, and Mr. Mantle says he's seen enough to convince him, nobody's seen enough quality evidence to prove it. It's an assumption. I assume this is fake. I assume this is real.
How about this? We're leaving one part of the story out too as well, and that was the special features addendum section with the evidence from the Roswell crash. And Santilli, it was like a masterful, it was a put together. We were put together. We were completely put together. And the I want you to comment on that, but I also want you to comment on this too as well. Santilli said that the reason why they had to recreate it, you know what, I could be wrong on this, so correct me if I am wrong, but didn't Santilli say that they were forced into reshooting it based on a real event, and that the real film, only little pieces of it were left? Wasn't that his out? Is that what he said?
Right. In a nutshell, the guy projects film onto his wall in Florida, I think it was. He lived in Ohio, and I think it was in Florida at that time. He projects the film through the sprockets onto the wall. Then, in less than 2 years, Santilli raises the money and goes back, and all the film's ruined, basically. All of it, except some fleeting things. And I talked to experts in restoration and film and stuff, and they're like, wait a minute, 2 years? I mean, if it got caught in a flood or something, but regardless. So yes, he says that happened, and then they reshot it based on his memory, artistic license of the six-fingered control panels that he said were artistic license, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It doesn't wash, because you still have 28 cans and more of vintage film, stuck together or not, that could have been looked at, could have been tested, et cetera, et cetera. And you bring up the debris footage, and you're right. It's masterful. I don't think he came up with a lot of this because it really is art and commerce more than anything else.
Sure.
Why bother? Why bother making up the debris footage when you have the autopsy anyway?
Exactly.
It's like a waste of time.
Right. But
he did. It's masterful.
Masterful.
I completely agree.
Masterful. And for me, back then, my frame of mind was I wanted it to be real so bad that, and I remember, I'm telling you, I bought it. I bought it. I not bought it physically with cash. I bought it with my emotions. I was duped. I was suckered in, and I invited people over to the house to watch that video, and I never. I don't remember anybody going, "Hey, man, this isn't real." People were shocked and blown away. Not only that, but then when you have Cyril Wecht to get up there and Stan Winston and people that we all recognize, it's like validating everything. So you just walk away with like, "Wow, man, I can't believe it." And it was, just absolutely masterful. Now, you said. Take me back for a second. You said you talked to Stan about this.
Yeah. What? I got into the UFO thing because I bought a laser disc of the Billy Meier films, and that was like 1990 or something, and that's what really got me into all this stuff. So I got into special effects because I love zombies and gore and all. I just love that stuff, right?
Right.
So then this thing's released, and I had the same feeling. I invited folks over. My mom watched it, and back in '95. I don't know, she was like 68 or something. It grossed her out and she left the room, right? So, and nobody initially told me that it was fake either. They weren't sure what they were looking at. So when Stan Winston was on there, and I wasn't a friend of his, but I talked to him at conventions and stuff like that. When Stan Winston's up there and he's saying that, I'm going, wow. There's some credence here because this guy knows what the hell he's talking about. This couldn't have been made in the 40s because the silicon skin did not exist, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So I said, wow, that's interesting. So I go to the K&B guys who are out by him, and they do, the special effects on the Dawn of the Dead and the Day of the Dead and such. And in fact, they just did the special effects on Lone Survivor, the body trauma, okay?
Yep.
So they give me an entire day, the day after Thanksgiving. I'm a nobody. I called them up and I said, here's what I'm doing. They said, come in tomorrow. And I brought my camera in there. I did a 2-camera shoot with them. And I said, what's going on with Stan? And they said, here's what happened. They told Stan Winston that it was conclusively dated to 1947, period. And that's why he said what he said. And remember, Cyril Wecht, he didn't say it was an alien. He said, I don't know what I'm looking at here. All the pieces seem to be indiscriminately put in there. What he did say was a lot of the physical attributes of the slicing and dicing were in the ballpark.
Right.
Right? Well, right. But he didn't say one way or the other because he didn't know what he was looking at. I brought it to folks who slice and dice as well, and they all said the same thing to me as well. They're not going to say yay or nay based on that because there isn't enough evidence there. I mean, the close-ups were out of focus, et cetera, et cetera. They would just look at it with a quizzical look on their face and go, I don't know.
Well, and this is the thing, and I need everybody out there listening right now to understand who we're talking about here. Stan Winston, by all regard, and with everybody in the industry out here in Hollywood, where we are based, he is the special effects go-to, I should say. When did he pass away?
About 6 years ago.
Sounds about right. Yeah. But up until his passing, he is the guy responsible for just about every cool special effects film that you can think.
There's just two movies, 3 if you're a geek like me, but 2 movies should sum it up: Terminator 2, right, and Jurassic Park.
Well, what about Jaws?
Well, yeah. Well, for me, it's Pumpkinhead because that's the first one that he directed.
But that's who we're talking about, the maestro, The guy, that's who Stan Winston is. We're not just slinging around some guy named Stan here. So for the people out there that don't read credits at the end of movies or are fascinated by this, yeah, that's who we're talking about. That's who Stan Winston is. And then Cyril Wecht is the pathologist that he's the go-to guy in just about every murder trial. He's the guy that they sit up on the stand, and as an expert witness, he's like the go-to guy in those cases. So that's who, if anybody's done an autopsy, it's Cyril.
Right. And I can't remember if they had the Kodak guy on there. His name was Lawrence Kate. I think they did have him on.
Yes, they did. They did.
It's been a while, but I talked to him specifically, and I kind of made him into a friend of sorts because he liked me. And again, it's one of those deals where nobody bothered to ask him the real story, and the real story was, yes, two guys, Gary Schofield, the other guy who was in tandem with Santilli to make some money, him and this other guy bring in a can of film to the Hollywood Kodak office. They walk it in. And Larry Kate said it happened a lot because people would want to know, what the age was, et cetera, et cetera. So he unreels some clear leader. He sees the three characters on the side. And he says, 27, 47, or 67. Thank you very much. And they leave, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the batch code.
Right. And it couldn't have been 27 or 67 because the batch won't last that long, and, the radiation, and it all turns white and all that. I'm not a film guy, but I know enough. So they say, well, it must have been 47. But what they didn't say is, and Mr. Kate told me, he said, I'm kicking myself in the ass, Mark, because I didn't know what I was looking at. They didn't tell me what I was looking at. So I look at the clear leader, and they're on their way. So he didn't see any image or anything. And he said, dude, anything could have been in that can of film. Anything. Nobody knows. And you know how they dated it in Denmark and London? They called it in. They called it in and said, we've got these codes on the side of the film. What does this mean? 27, 47, or 67. That's how they dated the film, period.
It's and it's such a it's such a remarkable. I don't want to give credit to Ray Santilli, but then I do. I really do. In that the whole thing, front to back, was plotted out where these guys are sitting around going, "Okay, man, we can make some money here. This is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to pull it off." And they did. That's the thing.
Yeah, to be honest, that we would like to. He's an intelligent guy. Okay, it'd be easy to slap him around, but it actually, I'll let Philip talk about this more. But it actually wasn't him. They're throwing ideas around just like a band or anything. Hey, that's a nice riff, and everybody works on it, right?
Right.
Well, kind of like that, but this guy that Philip Mantle will tell you about, he's the guy who pulled Santilli's fat out of the fryer over and over and over again. When Santilli said, I've seen footage of Truman at the crash site so clear you could read his lips.
Right.
Well, that never happened. That he says that, well, we couldn't see the footage because that was all stuck together. So, okay, so you're lying about that. But they were, because he said that, the guy who supposedly made the movie, the video, he was already working on getting somebody made up like Truman to shoot that because Santilli opened his big mouth. Same with the cameraman. There was never a cameraman. He opened his big mouth, so then they find this guy on the streets. They put a fake nose on him. They give him a script, and now they got a cameraman's interview. So it was kind of a seat-of-your-pants thing because it blew up so big. Santilli was not into UFOs and stuff, and neither was the other guy. They had no clue the bridge that they were jumping off of.
Where's Ray Santilli today?
He's still in England. The last time I talked to him, he was coming out to Vegas for some film thing, because he's still, he's mostly into the music video thing. He's done some on Elvis. Well, the story goes he was trying to get some Elvis footage, and that's how he got the autopsy footage from a guy who shot Elvis in '55 or something.
Right.
So the last time that I talked to him, he came out to Las Vegas, and I floated him some tickets to a really top-notch Elvis impersonator, hoping that I could chip away the ice that we've had between us, because basically I told him, you lied to me. You took my money and you lied to me because you told me this was cameraman's footage and it never was, and now it's recreated. And there's a little ice between us. This was 5 years ago or so that I gave him the tickets. He never thanked me for them. Thank you very much, Ray Santilli. But he's still in the business. And Philip can talk about his business practice, his behavior with partners and things. So let's just say, as a musician, it's a tough life to make a buck.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Do you think he feels? Does he feel? Does he feel or act guilty or a little remorse?
No. He's loving it, man. When they came up with the Alien Autopsy movie with Ant and Dec, the comedy team from England, he was all over it. He got a bunch of money for that, and the rumor is, and I don't know if it's still in the works, but a Broadway style play was being worked on as well.
You talked about, what? Do you mind? We might as well just take this to the end of the show. You surprised me, but if you can hang, I would like to talk about Billy Meier.
If the phone works, then we're good to go.
Okay. Well, you know what? I would normally take a commercial break here. Let's not do that. Let's just keep going. Let's you brought up Billy Meier, and again. Well, just let me say this about Billy Meier. How I was introduced to Billy Meier. This is going back to the mid. I'm going to take a guess here. I'm going to take a stab at this and say the mid '80s, 1985. And I was with a friend of mine's family down in Orange County. I'm not going to get into the long version of the story, but so I'm down in El Toro in that area. Nice neighborhood, nice house, gated community, cookout, good time. It's on, all right? So, and and it's a nice house. And I remember having to go into the house for some reason and he told me, his brother said, it's up in the front office. If you go next to the front door and go into my office in there, it's in there, and then bring it out. Whatever it was, I can't remember what I was going to retrieve. But when I was so I go into this office and I see on the shelves rows of videotapes. Okay. And then underneath that, and it was UFO this, Billy Meier this, UFO, Billy Meier. And then I see this stack of books. And so I grab, and it was just like, the coffee table book, big, huge book, and I flip it open, and I'm looking at these Billy Meier photographs in full color.
Amazing photos.
Yes. And I'm like, what the? I had never seen it. And, well, maybe in passing over the years, but nothing like this. And I went out and, forgot what I was in there to grab, but I went and grabbed his brother, and I'm like, man, what's going on with this? And that's when I ended up spending a couple of hours talking about Billy Meier. Now, and so my mind was completely blown.
Mine too.
Okay, so when you bring up Billy Meier, now, of course, my heart is broken. Have you seen, let's talk about Billy Meier. Have you seen that documentary floating around on YouTube about Billy Meier that it starts with him as a secret agent in India or whatever, and how
yeah.
Okay, all right. So we can talk about that too as well. Not a bad documentary, I might add.
Yeah. I think it's for me. I've only really worked on three things. I worked on the alien autopsy, the Billy Meier thing to a certain extent, because I was friendly with Wendell Stevens and such, and the rise and fall of the great and mighty Calcae course. So
okay.
the Billy Meier thing, what it really comes down to, if people out in your audience don't know anything about him, go search out the Beam Ship videos on YouTube. Don't look at anything else. Don't look at anything else but that. Type in Billy Meier Beam Ships. Now go watch all of that, and you will be blown out by some of it. Some of it looks like a toy on a fishing line, but some of it, I had it on Laserdisc, and I'm playing this thing frame for frame, which is what you could do back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm just going, my God.
Yes.
I just couldn't believe it.
Yes.
And then when you're done with that, search out this guy who's been recreating all of that stuff with the same camera, the same film camera, the same still camera, the same models built with one arm and shot with one arm, and go search that out. Just type in Billy Meier hoax, and he's got a funny name to his channel, but you'll find it. And for my money, he completely proves that a one-armed guy could have shot it all, because he did it with one arm, same camera, same still camera.
And today, the fascinating thing, well, there's tons when it comes to Billy Meier. Not only, his history, that's a pretty colorful life. That guy,
amazing.
Yeah, amazing life. I've lived a tenth of the life that guy has led. To end it all with this type of ending for him is just kind of sad to me. But so with Billy Meier, how the debunking and the hoaxing and everything, I think, has been proven beyond a doubt, but he still has his followers and his believers. And that's the crazy part to me, whereas some people just can't see the forest through the trees.
Well, yeah, like Horn, right?
Yes, yes.
Michael Horn. Nice enough guy to me, but man, can that guy can just be rude and almost like a terrorist in a way, if you get my drift.
Yes.
That guy just, it's hard to have a good conversation with him because he is hook, line, and sinker Billy Meier, right?
Well,
but I think what proved it to me before the guy on YouTube did all those, and I'm so happy he did, was when I was talking to Wendell Stevens, one of the original guys who found Billy Meier and went over there with the elders and shot the Beam movies and all the Beam Ship movies and all that, was even when I talked to him and I said, look, he's taken 1,000 to 3,000 camera positive photos. Where are the originals? Where are the first generation positive originals? None of them exist. None of them exist. Now, Horn will say they do. Some people will say they do. I'm telling you, I spent a lot of time looking into this case, and I even went to the main photo guy, and he sent me copies that he had, and they were 4th, 5th, and 6th generation copies. So until somebody comes up with first generation photos taken from the positive slide film, then you're blowing smoke at my dress because you're telling me he gave 3,000 photos away. I'm not buying it.
Right.
I'm just not buying it.
Well, and his story, I'm talking about Billy Meier's, his story got more and more fantastical. He could have just stopped with 2 or 3 or 4 of the original Beam Ship photographs. Just the photographs, not the film is ridiculous, but the movies, I should say. If he would have stopped right there at those Beam Ships and kept his story simple, that we would still be right there with our minds blown today.
I completely agree. The 180 to that is he couldn't stop because, ego and maybe a little money's going to come in.
Yep.
So he shoots the ray gun photo and the pterodactyl photo from the book and all this crap, right? But the flip side of that is Lazar hasn't changed the story, right?
Yep.
So you got Lazar never changes it, and then this guy is still around, and his wife turned against him, his son, kind of turned against him, but he loves his dad, blah blah blah. So yes, it would have made it much harder to get to the bottom of it. But again, even with that, can we conclusively say that in India or in Sweden that he didn't have some inexplicable experience? We can't say that he didn't.
No, we can't.
Can't say it.
No, we can't. And like I want to take you back to when I was looking at that coffee table book. I was so blown away, and so my mind wasn't even working right when I was looking at those pictures. It just like twisted me up. They were just unbelievable. And then when I saw you said it right too, fishing line. When I saw the film, it just took the wind out of my sails all the way back to the original photographs that I had seen in that coffee table book. I was just like, oh, no, come on. But yet
but not all the film, because one really good one is when the ship is over the road and the car passes underneath it and it's just spinning there.
Yep.
That's a good film.
That's a good film.
Like, cool. I like that.
Well, and
but some of it was ridiculous.
Well, one of the that pendulum. See, this is a thing, and you're right about this. The one piece of film that I thought was completely bogus with the pendulum, like, and it's the ship is going around the tree. Yeah. But the thing is about that film was when the tree was swaying with the ship as it went by. And how did that effect happen? And if and I could have sworn that the ship was actually traveling behind the tree. So it's like going around the tree. As bogus as it looked, because we've all spun, a piece of string in our hand like that. You know what I mean? Okay, and it had something dangling from it, a pendulum effect. But yet the swaying of the tree and the way it was done, is bogus as it looked, to me, it could be real. So yeah, I agree. There was a couple of pieces of film that were, but the film I think is what brought him down. The video. Yeah,
that and the wedding cake.
The wedding cake. That's right. That's right.
With the toy car in front of it and all that. It's like, come on, people, come on.
Oh, you mean in the driveway, right? In front of that? Yeah. So how did you get into this? I mean, this is a fascinating. You and I have never talked, and this is a surprise phone call, and I love every minute of it.
Sure. I'm a movie nut. I see 200 to 300 movies at the movie theater a year, and another 100 or so at home. So my parents were very cool to me, and they took me to see all sorts of twisted films as a kid and stuff. So I'm very much into film and special effects, and the Billy Meier stuff is really. I mean, I saw the Von Däniken and all that stuff, but when I bought the Billy Meier Laserdisc, that really perked my interest, and I started going to some of the conventions and things of that sort. And it wasn't too long after that, like 4 years, when the Autopsy came out. And I'm also very good friends with a guy named Dave Aaron, who owns the UFO Audio Video Clearinghouse, and he was really, really like the main supplier of a lot of the footage everybody's seen on hard copy and encounters and all kinds of those through the 80s and the early 90s until he got sick and had to quit.
Right.
So between him supplying me with all that stuff and then the Autopsy, I got deeply, deeply into it. I used to do my own newsletter fanzine thing, and I made 500,000 pages of that, gave it all away, never accepted any money for any of it, never accepted any money for anything, because I just thought that's not what I'm into it for. Got asked to be on TV, and I turned them down because I'm just not, I don't know, I'm just not into that kind of stuff. I like Wolf. I want to do the research and try to get to the bottom of something, for Christ's sakes. And then recently, with a group of guys, we started to get into the rise and fall of Cal Korff, and he wrote a pretty good book on the Billy Meier case. Right?
Yep.
Selling book on the Billy Meier case. And then he wrote sort of a cobbled together from other people's work with a little bit of his own on the Roswell case.
Yep.
And then he moved to the Czech Republic and joined some sort of secret service, and he's been fighting terrorism with homemade nanodust. I don't have time to get into all this stuff now, and now he lives in India. But at another date, if you'd like to talk in depth about this Cal Korff guy, and if you've been around, so you've seen him in the '90s on hard copy.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who solved the JFK case, right?
Yep.
Blah blah blah.
Yep.
But if your listeners would like to go get a smidgen of what he's been up to, they can go to UFO Watch Cat, like Watchdog. They can go to UFOWatchCat.com, and they can see a very in-depth rundown of the last 14 years of Cal Korff's interesting Walter Mitty life.
I had read, it seems like it wasn't that long ago, about a year ago, that I had read that he had joined the Secret Service. He was in some kind of secret underground clandestine government overthrowing a New World Order organization overseas. It was some crazy. I was like, you've got to be joking. But and you're the first person that I've talked to since then. I got to hear the rest of the story,
dude. It goes hugely deep. He's a pathological fabricator, let's call it.
Okay.
And he's kind of like Corso, the guy that wrote the book, who said that without my involvement in the Roswell debris, we wouldn't have cell phones and night vision goggles and things.
Right.
He's kind of like that. So if you want to have a show on it, first thing you got to do is go up to UFOWatchCat.com, wade through all that stuff that a compatriot of ours put together, and then go to the YouTube channel to watch his crazier than hell YouTube videos that were re-edited with the truth, and to the blog calisanidiot.blogspot.com. and once you look at all that, you'll say, my God, I mean, this guy wrote 2 pretty well-received books, and he was on the Larry King show, and he did all these different spots, and he really was kind of somebody for a while, and then he joined kind of like in a fashion, a Star Trek club that he renamed the Secret Service of, the CZ, and he was a captain and a colonel, and he had sexy honeypots, he called it, and he was $25 million from a sheik, and it goes on and on and on. And the worst thing he did to a friend of mine, you probably know him, Don Ecker, the guy that owned UFO magazine.
Yep.
He pissed off Cal, because Don's a straight shooter. He pissed off Cal, and Cal stole the identity of a lawyer who was out of L.A., stole his identity, anonymously wrote an email to Don Ecker and told him, you will stop, you will blah, 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 blah. Don called the lawyer, and the lawyer's going, what? So then Don sent him all the links and stuff, and the guy comes back and he goes, I don't know who this lunatic is, but if he keeps it up, I'd like to know, but there's nothing I can do because he's in India. But that's who you're dealing with here, is a guy who would steal the identity of a known lawyer and say, I'm going to sue you. That's how lunatic it got.
And this is the thing, Mark. There is so much good in ufology, and there's so many guys out there like, Antonio Paris, who we just had on the show, and we talked about Travis Walton, but there's so many guys out there that are just doing the right thing. And then you got guys that come along like Ray Santilli that sucker us in, or Billy Meier or Korff, all these guys that just mess it up for everybody, and it's a really sad thing.
Well, and even Richard C. Hoagland. I was pretty friendly with him. I used to call him up at his house. I bought his books. I bought his videos. And when I went to go see him speak for the first time, he loves to hear himself talk. So a 1-hour talk went 2.5 hours in Los Angeles. And when he started to tell us stuff like, there's an intergalactic war going on right now as we speak.
Right.
And that, it was just, you're looking at it going, I can give some credence to some interesting photos that you've blown up until the pixels are the size of a VW. Okay,
right.
Maybe it's there. It may not be there. but I mean, for Christ's sakes, man, you're doing a Billy Meier. You're only as important as the next thing that you break, like Linda Moulton Howe and the rest of them. You can't make a buck in this thing, and Jaime Maussan, you can't make a buck in this thing unless somebody sends you something and you release it now. Now, got to get it out. Got to get it out before we do any research on it. Got to get it out to keep my name in the media.
Hey, Mark, you know how good you did? We've got 45 seconds and we are off the air. So listen, I'm gonna start rolling some tape, and I'm gonna say, or rolling the music, and I'm gonna say good night to you now. Over that, I'm not gonna just cut you off. But thank you for coming on, folks. That was Mark Center, and we've been talking to Mark. This was a surprise call, and thank you for doing that, by the way. Surprise call, but we have some stuff that we're going to be doing in the future with Mark. Mark, thank you. And Philip Mantle, and it's going to be some really cool stuff coming up. You know, a little preemptive strike, Mark, and we've got it out there now. So there you go. But have a great night. Thanks for calling in. You stirred the pot, and I'm sure that we've angered a few people tonight.
Thanks much, and I'll talk to you very soon. You got a great show.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This is Fade to Black. Stay tuned. Coming up next is Spooky South Coast with Tim Weisberg. Fade to Black is executive producer is Rita Kamirian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm. Announcers are Steve Harder and Mark Kovar. Music you're listening to right now is Doug Aldrich. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR and the Dark Matter Radio Network. Tomorrow night, Michael Cremo. That's right, Michael Cremo. Lost Civilizations, Forbidden Archaeology. It's going to be a great night tomorrow. Everybody have a great night, and I'll see you later.